remember. I do, and I understand. I hope this quote can be relatable to all the scouts who are committed to learn things by doing. A very good morning to all who have joined today for Lead to Communication 101. Lead to Communication 101 is a series of public speaking sessions organized by the Colombo Scout Youth Advisory Group and conducted by the Toastmasters of District 82. These sessions are designed in a way that it helps the Scouts to complete their proficiency badges, orator, and speaker. Also, for the non Scout participants, where this session would be helping their public speaking and communication skills. With that, I would like to hand over controls to Toastmaster Hashini Silva, who would be moderating the session. Toastmaster, over to you.
Thank you very much, Naushard. No one can go back and make a brand new start, but anyone can start from now and make a brand new ending. A very good morning to you and welcome to Lead Through Communication 101, a series of knowledge sharing sessions on public speaking organized by the Colombo Scout Youth Advisory in collaboration with the District 82 of Toastmasters International. I'm Hashini Silva. I will be the moderator of this segment. First and foremost, let me take this opportunity to thank the Colombo Scout Youth Advisory for this opportunity given to District 82 to deliver a series of educational sessions on developing both communication and leadership skills. We are proud to be the knowledge partner of the 55th Colombo Campori 2020 in collaboration with the Colombo Scouts. As you may already know, we have 3 sessions in store for this first session would be an introduction to Toastmasters by distinguished Toastmaster Modita Sendanayaka. The second session, which would follow, would be on prepared speeches or how to organize your speech by Toastmaster Sandun Fernando. And the final session, that is the third segment for today, will be on meeting management by distinguished Toastmaster Zaidh Naushard. I'm sure that all of these presenters have so much to share with you today. But before we kickstart our proceedings for today, I would like to now invite distinguished Toastmaster Nisal Virakod, Club Growth Director, that is the third highest ranking official of District 82, to address the gathering. Just a kind reminder before I hand over the session to him, this program will be conducted on the normal Zoom meeting platform, not on webinar mode. So therefore, I would like to request you to kindly keep your mics on mute and your videos off, unless otherwise, of course, any speaker requests you to do so that we can conduct the session without any disturbances. Thank you, and over to you, distinguished Toastmaster Nisal Virakod.
Thank you, Toastmaster. Now, today is a wonderful day and an exciting day for all you scouts and for us as Toastmasters as well. They say change is hard, but change is courageous. When you take that change, you will reap the benefits in different ways. Now, I am so happy and thrilled to be part of this wonderful event, where for the first time you all have organized this event in a virtual platform. And I see every year when I go to my workplace, I pass the Viharmadevi Park and I see how much fun and how many activities you all do in the physical environment. And I have always seen the pictures and I always have seen how much things you enjoy and you learn from this event, yearly event. And today, with all these pandemic situation, you all have converted this event to an online platform and you are doing a wonderful job. As a person who went through the opening ceremony of this event, I'm extremely happy and wowed for the how the things have been conducting from the beginning to the now. So dear scouts, what can you learn from these few sessions? In the modern world, to lead and to communicate effectively, you need communication skills, you need leadership skills. So in this small series of workshops what we are going to conduct, we will be sharing a lot of skills which we will be beneficial for you in your scouting journey and as a person who wants to lead things and who wants to grow as an individual. Communication skills will play a vital role in your journey. So from these workshops, learn these things, take those notes and enjoy. And you can ask all the questions you have in your mind and clear all those doubts, because we are there to help you and guide through this journey. And always gain those skills and use those skills in the real world when you get the opportunity, and share these ideas and these skills with your fellow scouts as well, because if you want to grow, you have to share the things what you know, you have to share the knowledge you have gained, and by doing that you can be a better individual and you can definitely be a great scout. So dear scouts, enjoy, learn new skills and have fun. Just like you have fun in the physical activities, definitely you can have fun and you can have a lot of learning in this virtual environment as well. And always share the knowledge with your friends, and most importantly, if you have questions, please do ask questions and gain those skills and enjoy these programs and lead through communication next time when you get the opportunity, because leading is hard, but if you want to lead, you need those skills, and today and tomorrow you will get those skills for to lead with communication. So with that, I wish all the very best in this journey of this virtual event, and I would like to hand over controls back to Toastmaster Hashini. Over to you.
Thank you very much, distinguished Toastmaster Nisal, for sharing your thoughts with us this morning. So, as you already heard from distinguished Toastmaster Nisal, Toastmasters allows people to build the skills that they need to become more confident public speakers and, of course, stronger leaders in every aspect of life. Toastmasters will give you the skills and the confidence that you need to effectively express yourself in any situation, irrespective of whether you're a tenured manager, student, young professional, or somebody looking to advance their career, or someone hoping to make an impact in one's community. Now, we have with us today an expert to tell you more about how Toastmasters can help you. So, without taking too much of your time, let me now move on to introducing him. That is our very first speaker for today, distinguished Toastmaster Modita Sendanayaka, who will be facilitating our first session on Introduction to Toastmasters, inspiring our young leaders of tomorrow to develop their communication skills. Distinguished Toastmaster Modita is a lecturer and a trainer by profession attached to I Speak Academy, Sri Lanka, specializing in developing communication and public speaking skills. He is also an advisor to the GIHE campus public speaking training programs. His corporate experience spans over 12 years, covering various capacities, including software engineering, being a business analyst, corporate training solution developer, public speaking coach, and even a lecturer. He's a certified trainer from the City and Guilds UK. Modita is an experienced Toastmaster who joined the organization in 2014 and has achieved the Distinguished Toastmaster status, which is the highest education qualification from Toastmasters International. Also, he's a former Toastmaster Asia Director, champion speaker, multiple award winner for education and leadership excellence, even mentoring. And he's a charter president of Horror Toastmasters Club, a past president of NDB Toastmasters Club, and he's currently serving District 82 as the club extension and retention chair for divisions B and G. Toastmaster, distinguished Toastmaster Modita, over to you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Hashini, for that introduction. Very good morning to young leaders, young scouts, and all the leaders out there. I hope I'm audible. Just give me a thumbs up from virtual if you can hear me loud and clear. And I hope you can hear me really well. Thank you so much. All right. So I'm honored to be addressing you and this momentous occasion where you have this grand virtual contemporary and also the series of educational segments and very interactive segments. This is a unique opportunity for us to be the knowledge partner of District 82, to be the knowledge partner for this program. And we are privileged to share our knowledge and introduce the Toastmasters program to you and give you some knowledge about what you can gain from Toastmasters from this valuable educational program. So I know there will be people, sometimes you might know about Toastmasters and total beginners about Toastmasters. And it's my duty to share what is Toastmaster, how it will benefit you, and what is the history of Toastmasters. Now, before anything else, I want to ask a question from you. Now, you don't have to unmute your mics and answer it, say it loud, but just think of this and give the answer to yourself. Can you remember the very first time you did a speech in front of an audience? I'll give 5 seconds to think. That is enough. The very first time you delivered a speech, can be school or maybe college, public gathering, wherever. And the most recent opportunity you got to do a speech or to address a gathering. Now, how did you feel? Were you really confident and you just went out like a lion and delivered the speech? Or did you have any nervousness, any feelings that prevented you going in front? Even you went in front of the audience, you felt real uncomfortable sometimes. Have you been there? I'm sure most of you, almost all of us have been there. I have been there in big time so many years back. Still I'm there, but I know how to control it. That is the secret of Toastmasters. So this is about phenomena that we face as students or leaders everywhere. When we get the opportunity to speak, sometimes we struck. That's a common factor. Let me share my presentation to educate you more about this. I hope you can see the presentation. Right? Okay. So welcome to the awareness session on Toastmasters. This is called as glossophobia. It's a phobia itself. So people all over the world suffer from this situation. They have a sense of dread, choking, rapid heartbeat, wobbly legs, beautiful feelings in stomach. Everything will start happening when they get the opportunity of speaking in front of an audience. Even nowadays, even though we are addressing virtually, still we have that psychological thing in our mind. So is it something unique to me or you? It's a worldwide situation. Now, 70% of people suffer from speech anxiety. We call this speech anxiety. People would love dying rather doing a speech in front of people. It was that terrible. So Toastmasters is the platform, is a very thorough platform that will address this issue, provide some unique solutions to get rid of the fear of public speaking, and ultimately developing all of us as leaders. So what is Toastmasters? It's a worldwide non-profit educational organization empowering people to become more effective speakers and leaders. It provides ways and means to convert people to become more effective speakers and leaders. It's a network of over 364,000 memberships. It's a massive and more than 16,200 clubs spread across 145 countries, a massive network. People are reaping the benefits of Toastmasters all over the world. It is the largest provider of dynamic, high-value experiential communication and leadership skills development in the world. Now, my dear friends, you saw two words specifically, communication and leadership. These two pathways are the major focus of Toastmasters education program in all Toastmasters program. So let's see how it will empower you to become a better communicator and a better leader. As I mentioned, communication and leadership, two pillars of Toastmasters. So if you are leaders, scouts are outstanding leaders, all of you are great leaders. But to become a great leader, to improve yourself further as a leader, to climb up in the ladder of leadership, that's one thing we need. It's a must for us to practice and be very thorough. It is communication. So we need to give equal measures to communication and leadership. Because James Hughes once said, the art of communication is the language of the leadership. So you now know the importance of communication and leadership and the emphasis that has given by the Toastmasters for these valuable components for your personal and professional growth. Little bit of Toastmasters. Now you see top leftmost corner, the logo of Toastmasters International, and the tagline is where leaders are made. Yes, we grow leaders, we made leaders. Toastmasters International is where leaders are made with communication skills as well. So we have 4 core values in Toastmasters: integrity, respect, service, and excellence. So we practice integrity as Toastmasters during the conduct of our all Toastmasters activities. And we respect each other's. We respect each other's capacities, their projects and their speeches, and whatever we do, we practice this respect as well. We practice the servant leadership quality, the leadership style. We serve others, we serve the society in terms of improvement of communication and leadership. And ultimately, we experience the excellence through this process, and we help people to achieve excellence from this process as well. So this is about the core value and also the logo and the tagline of Toastmasters International. Who invented or started Toastmasters International? It was none other than Dr. Ralph C. Smedley. Now, there's a beautiful story to this. First of all, I would like to draw a parallel to Lord Baden-Powell and Dr. Ralph C. Smedley, two of the most outstanding organizations, the Scouts movement and Toastmasters. There's a similarity between Dr. Ralph C. Smedley and Lord Baden-Powell. They share the same birthday, 22nd February. It's ironic, right? Quite unique. So we have a lot of connection. Not only this collaboration between the Colombo Scouts Youth Advocacy Group and Toastmasters International District 82 Sri Lanka. So we have a good bond between our two organizations. So this Ralph C. Smedley was a lecturer and also an educationalist, a visionary leader who was active in reforming education with regard to YMCA in the United States of America in early 1900s. Being educational director of educational affairs at YMCA, he saw the importance of motivating people to become better leaders and better speakers, because at that time, during his stay at YMCA, he saw small issue with regard to the leaders. The youth of United States at that time was reluctant to go in front of audience, mainly when they were given an opportunity to speak, they were reluctant to go in front, and rather they had to be pushed to do a speech. And even though they were delivering a speech, the constructions, the technicalities, the good flow of the speech was not there to the perfection. So being an educationalist, this Dr. Ralph C. Smedley thought, okay, this is time for me to come into the scenario and train them, give a kind of a syllabus for them to practice these, improve the skills, and become better communicators, again, become better leaders. So Dr. Ralph C. Smedley started this process when he was very young, as you see, and ultimately in 1924, the 24th October of 1924, he chartered the first club. Actually, this is the very first club of the world, YMCA, Santa Ana, California. So we are almost 100 years old. But before that, even Toastmasters had been there when Dr. Ralph C. Smedley started the process in 1905. But the official year that we consider as Toastmasters, birth year of Toastmasters, is 1924. And after that, it was a huge growth. It went everywhere. It became international, not only in United States. And people were accepting these valuable opportunities from both hands to improve their speaking skills, leadership skills, and capacities. So Dr. Ralph C. Smedley has given a great opportunity to the world, being an educationalist and a leader, to improve ourselves as leaders and communicators, being a member of valuable Toastmasters International Foundation. Now, the Toastmasters promise, it says, empowering individuals through personal and professional development. That is the promise of Toastmasters. The club mission goes as, we provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. If you can see the two words, major words highlighted there, and at the end I was highlighting it, the greater self-confidence and the personal growth. If we improve our self-confidence, it ultimately will lead to have greater personal growth. This is the mission of the club. Now, when you hear the word club, you're wondering what is club? It is a section of Toastmasters, a pillar of Toastmasters, the structure. Let me enlighten you on a bit of the structure of Toastmasters International. First, it's about you, a member. Member is right at the center of Toastmasters. He has been given, the member will be given the prime focus, the most valuable things, because member is the most valuable item for Toastmasters for growth. So when you have collection of members, we have a club, the smallest unit. In a club, we exercise speeches and do speeches. We do leadership projects like scouts, and we improve ourselves. So collection of clubs will create an area. Again, a collection of areas will create a division. A collection of several divisions will form a district. Now in Sri Lanka, it's a separate district. We have so many divisions, many areas, and we call as District 82 of the World Toastmasters map. And after that, districts, collection of district will create a region plus the headquarters of Toastmasters International. The top leadership will be there. So from your membership, a club, area, division, district, international regions, and the headquarters, everyone who is at every layer will focus on how we can deliver the best to the member, because what we believe as Toastmasters is the empowerment of individuals in terms of their leadership and community. Now, who uses Toastmasters? And you can see some of the most brilliant companies, like more than half of Fortune 500 companies have Toastmasters Club. Notable corporate clubs like Apple, Disney, Caterpillar, Boeing, Google, Toyota, Coca-Cola, 3M. You see these giants like they are multinational billionaire companies. They use Toastmasters program to educate their employees, because when you empower employees, you will become employees one day. And when you become working professionals, the development of yourself to become better leaders is essential. And Toastmasters is one of the greatest platforms for that. You see the individual growth and organizational growth, and the fine line between them, and you will go up in the ladder, carrying the flag of success and opportunity. How you will benefit from this program? You will improve your public speaking skills, obviously being a Toastmaster. We practice a lot of speak time, and we do several speeches, various categories, and a lot of assignments, speaking assignments, and build leadership skills, practice writing speeches and presenting in a group setting, gain a competitive advantage in the team, because as scouts, you know, as you work in teams, we want to lead in teams. When you want to lead, there are several set of skills and characteristics that you need to have. Everything will be given in Toastmasters, because in experiential learning method, they empower people to accept that. So build self-confidence, unlimited personal growth, and maximize your potential. Again, or you will learn in Toastmasters how to conduct effective meetings. Now there will be a segment about effective meetings, and you will learn more about these things. Practice time management, enhance listening skills, being leaders, what we need to know, how to listen really well, and sometimes we need to speak less, listening really well. You need to listen more and speak less. And sharpen your presentation skills, your team collaboration, successful leadership skills, and take the implementations of development decision-making skills. Everything will be empowered, or you will learn in a different way, with a different flavor in Toastmasters. So what is this club experience? What happens inside Toastmasters Club? You know, the Toastmasters Club is the fundamental unit of Toastmasters educational experience. There will be a set of people who will be doing speeches, and you have icebreaker speech, the very first speech being a Toastmaster, the very first one that you will deliver. Again, some of the prepared speeches, they are like a syllabus. We have a set of guidelines, speech assignments, we do prepared speeches, we measure the time, and we do evaluations. And table topics, impromptu speaking. We need to speak spontaneously sometimes. It's an art. So it is an art. You need to practice it. We need to master it. So there will be another session on how you can do impromptu speech, and you can nail it when you go through the segment. And evaluations, we evaluate ourselves in a very positive way. If there's good things, we really commend them for doing those good things. And if you want to improve certain things without discriminating, or maybe telling that you need to improve this in a bad way, very positively we tell these people, we tell each other that we can improve like this. If you could have add these things to our speeches, and that will help us to think in a very positive way, even if we are surrounded by the adversity, just like in COVID-19, we can stay very positive because we know how to do constructive criticism on ourselves as well. So this is what we can expect from a Toastmasters club. It's an enriching experience. That is why many people, Toastmasters, are like enchanted to become members, and they are continuing the process, being there, getting the real value of Toastmasters. Just a little idea about Toastmasters educational experience. I was talking a lot about Toastmasters education program. We call this unique learning experience as pathways. Just to give you some examples, in Toastmasters, we have 11 specialized pathways, 11 learning streams. To complete one learning stream, you will get some time. So you can imagine completing all 11, you will take some time, and it will be a nice experience. It has more than 60 projects and more than 300 unique competencies. That is the enrichment that we will get being Toastmasters. A lot of competencies. We learn these and we practice these firsthand and through experiential learning in Toastmasters. So this is the structure of a Toastmasters leadership. Just like in Scouts, in Toastmasters clubs, we have an executive committee for administrative purposes. So we have the president and vice president education who will be taking care of the educational part, vice president membership who will be taking care of the members and members affairs, vice president public relations who will be spearheading the PR activities of a club, secretary, the custodian of the valuable information and documents, treasurer, the most valuable person of any organization, I would say, and the sergeant at arms. It's like the logistic manager. He will be arranging the place and keeping all these valuables of the Toastmasters club as the custodian. So this is the basic structure, 7 executive roles of a club. Now, Toastmasters District 82 Sri Lanka. I was talking about the structure of Toastmasters, the pyramid, and I mentioned that we are a separate district, District 82 Sri Lanka. So what is the status in District 82? Being Sri Lankans, we need to know. More than 3,500 members, more than 160 clubs across this country, from Jaffna to the Point Dondra, and from Batticaloa to Colombo, Kandy, everywhere we can find Toastmasters club, covering 60 plus cities. Now, you know, it has been spread across the country. District 82 is one of the fastest growing, one of the best districts in the entire world. So being Sri Lankans, we can be very proud of it because we are part of a fastest growing regions and one of the most performing districts in the world. Now being Sri Lankans, we need to be very proud of 2 more things. Do you know this person? Now I would like to get an answer. If anyone can unmute yourself, quickly tell the answer.
It's Sir Dhananjaya Hettiarachchi.
Absolutely. Let's give him or her the virtual round of applause for that correct answer. Is none other than the legend of Toastmasters in District 82, Dhananjaya Hettiarachchi. Why he is so significant? He was the world champion of public speaking in 2014, the first Asian to win this greatest title being a Toastmaster. So when you go up in the ladder of communication, the ultimate position in the competitive Toastmasters arena is being the world champion of public speaking. That is the top. And this gentleman has achieved that, brought the glory to Sri Lanka, being the very first Asian to win this. For so many years, it has been conquered by Europeans and maybe British people, Europeans and the USA. So Dhananjay is very unique, and he put our Toastmasters District 82 in the World Toastmasters map. And there's another very distinguished personality. Anyone who knows the answer for this? Who is this gentleman? It's a very distinguished gentleman. I will give just 5 seconds since I have only 2 minutes to complete. All right. He is none other than distinguished Toastmaster our Balraj Arunasalam. Why he is so significant? He became the president of Toastmasters International. Dhananjay went on to become the champion of public speaking in the leadership ladder. DTM Balraj went on to the top and he became the international president of Toastmasters for the year of 2017 and 18. And he is one key pillar in formation of District 82. You see, we have provided leaders and champion speakers. So we are part of a unique area, District 82. We learn best in moments of enjoyments. So before concluding, I would like to end this presentation and share you a small thing for your information. For me, Toastmasters has changed my life. Only regret that I'd be having, I could have joined Toastmasters when I was a schoolboy, if I had known that. But it's never too late for anything. I became Toastmaster many years back. I'm growing. It's a never-ending process. As scouts, you are a part of one of the greatest organizations on this earth. And you are practicing one of the greatest leadership qualities, the skills that you can find in this universe. So if you can couple this with the might of communication excellence of Toastmasters International, we can rule the world together, becoming better speakers and better leaders. That is why this collaboration between Colombo Scouts, Advisory Group, Youth Group, and District 82 Toastmasters will create history. So we are part of history-making event, and all of us are part of this unique event. So I hope you got understanding about Toastmasters, and I hope you got an understanding about Toastmasters. Search Toastmasters International. It's freely available in the website. You can go and find anything from the site. I wish you all the very best. Over to you, Hashini.
Thank you very much, distinguished Toastmaster Modita. I'm confident that the information that you shared will be truly valuable for our audience today. As you mentioned very correctly, Toastmasters is so far the most efficient, supportive, enjoyable, and even affordable way of gaining great communication skills. In fact, by learning to effectively formulate and express your ideas, you will be opening yourself to an entirely new world of possibilities. You'll improve your interpersonal communication or even your leadership skills, and you'll become more persuasive and confident when giving speeches, just like distinguished Toastmaster Modita mentioned. Thank you very much, sir. Now, talking of speeches, we have with us today to facilitate our next segment a veteran in crafting and delivering great speeches, who very interestingly happens to have been a scout himself back at school. Toastmasters Sandun Fernando is currently the director and performance strategist at Blue Mango Partners. He is a business consultant, a corporate trainer, and an executive coach with over 17 years of corporate experience, as well as being a master practitioner of NLP and in Toastmasters. He has been the District 82 winner of evaluations and impromptu speaking in 2016, and is a member of the Smedley Toastmasters Club and also a past president of the same club in 2014. So without further ado, let me take this opportunity to invite Toastmaster Sandun Fernando, who will be conducting the next session on organizing your prepared speech. Over to you, sir.
Good morning, Scouts.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you. And it's such a pleasure to be connected with all of you today. It takes me back many, many years when I was just a 12-year-old, a new recruit with the Colombo 21st Scout Troop at St. Joseph's College. Do we have any Josephians here in the audience today?
Yes, sir.
Right, okay. That's really good to connect with all of you today. And thank you very much for this privilege of addressing a Camboree. You know, it's one of the dreams of a scout, and then I'm living mine many years after. Thank you. And this session is going to be quite interactive. So because of that, I'd like to encourage all of you. I'd like to invite all of you, as much as possible to keep your videos on, to keep your microphones available, so that whenever we have these questions, we can always interact with each other, share ideas, and then keep it going for the next 40-45 minutes. Right. I'm assuming that all the scouts are generally well disciplined and well organized little men. So because of that, I believe all of you have had time to brush your teeth and get ready. Or if you're still in your pajamas, you're at home, it's your Christmas, or rather the Boxing holiday, so it's all right. Either way, shall we take a few seconds to switch on our cameras and show each other's faces? And wow, Kenula's already with his full kit. Well done. Good morning, Kenula. Kenul, right. Yusuf, Prabhash. I'm seeing a lot of you switching on your cameras. Sanija's there. Amar. Nice. Ashin. Thank you, boys. And some of y'all have, wow, y'all have put up tents in your background as well. Y'all are really living the Campery experience. I'm sure that's a lovely tent, Yusuf.
Yes, sir.
You have your camp, the tent at the back. Very nice.
Thank you, sir.
You're really living the Campery experience. Very nice, very nice.
Thank you, sir.
Right, good. So, boys, Nisin, very nice. Good to have you in the audience. I love the setup. Right? Okay. So here's the thing, boys. This is what we are going to do. Let me start by asking, how many of you know about oaths? Anyone had oats for breakfast?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I did.
Very good. Very good. So when it comes to a prepared speech in Toastmasters, or for that matter, a prepared speech anywhere, it's very, very important to understand. It's very important to understand the oaths, right? Or rather, oath, O-A-T. Let me share with you what that is. But before that, let me share with you a very interesting experience that I had. When I started my trainer career, roughly about 8 years ago, one of the first assignments that I got was to go and speak at the Colombo Professional Secretaries Association at one of their monthly meetups. And I was pretty excited. I got the opportunity through my sister, who happens to be a member. It's actually right now it is called SLAPA, Sri Lanka Association of Professional Assistants and Secretariats. So anyways, the Colombo Secretaries Association, the chapter, invited me a few years ago to come in and speak to the secretaries about the use of technology. The use of technology. This was 8 years ago, you need to understand. And then Facebook was just making it into a mainstream social media. I don't believe Instagram was very much active at that point. So me being the Toastmaster and being the trainer, excited about this opportunity, so I got ready. I went and I researched. I researched about the latest technology that can be used by secretaries. This was the time when what is called the automated secretarial services, the scheduling, the technology for automated calendars, and all these things are coming into play. I did a lot of research because I wanted to add value to the secretarial personal assistant services, and I did all of that. And then I prepared a presentation, I prepared all my slide deck, I got ready for what are possible questions that they might ask, how automation and digitization is going to help. I did all of that. I got ready and I was ready. I was excited. And I remember the presentation was scheduled not at a Scouts venue, but at the Girl Guides Association quarters that is next to Lionel went in Colombo 7. So I got there early and I was ready and I was super excited. And also, since majority of the young boys are here, when they said Colombo secretaries, I think it was about a 27, 28-year-old boy at that time. I was also excited about meeting some of the nice female secretaries. So I was looking forward to that as well. I can see all of you all having a slight smile in your face, because the moment the boys are given an opportunity to interact with the girls, that is one of the best things, isn't it? Ulina, I can see the grin in your face, and Udan as well, right? So Scouts do not have female or girl members joining us. They have girl guides for them. So anyways, I was excited. I was looking forward to it. So as I went on the day, I was prepared and I thought I was ready. I was going to ace this. I was going to impress my sister and all the colleagues. And as I went there early and I stood there prepared, I saw the participants coming in, and keeping in mind, this was a monthly meetup, a chapter meeting. I saw a few of them coming in. Initially, okay, there were 2 or 3 that walked in. There was a old gentleman who walked in. I was like, okay, sir, did you get your meeting room right, or are you here by mistake? And then another old gentleman walked in, right? Okay. And then a couple of older ladies came in who reminded me of my grandmother at the time. I was like, right. And then there was a lady that walked in with a walking stick as well. I was like, okay, where is this going? And then I walked up to one of the organizers and I asked, hey, I thought you said this is going to be the Colombo Secretary's some chapter meeting. He's like, yes, it is. And these are all our members, and some of them are former members, and we keep our membership alive. Once you join, you will never retire. I was like, oh, right. Then, and then I was like, gentlemen, and then the coordinator was like, yes, of course. There is nothing saying that the secretaries have to be females, and these are gentlemen, these are secretaries of some of the ministries. They have been serving the country for a long time. I was like, wow, and here I am. And then as I started the presentation and I started getting into very complex digital platforms and everything, one of the gentlemen at the back raised his hand and he's like, son, do you know, every time I switch on my computer, it keeps asking me for a username. Do you know what username is? I put my name, it doesn't work. And I was like, okay, now you want to know about username. Here I am getting ready with the latest digital technology, and they just want me to tell them how to move from one screen to another, how to boot their computer, how to restart. So quite a funny experience very early in my career, where I was a little embarrassed. I shut down my presentation, I put it aside, and then I told myself, hey, you know what? Let's make it fun. All you, I said, I'm going to call you uncles and aunties because I'm a young boy here, and all of you, you ask me questions. I'm going to answer you about the use of technology. And believe me, during the presentation, quite a lot of them didn't even have smartphones like most of you do nowadays. So a lot of them asked me about Facebook, and then I ended up logging on to the Facebook screen and telling them how they create a Facebook profile. That's as far as digital went that day. Now, let me share with you my biggest learnings on that day, right? Let me share with you my biggest learning on that day is the fact that I assumed, the moment I was told that this is the Colombo Secretaries, I assumed who's going to be in the audience. I assumed their problems. I assumed what I wanted to, right? And since these are scouts here, let me share with you. Can one of the scouts spell the word assume to me?
A-S-U-M-E.
A-S-S-U-M-E-D.
Assumed. Okay. Thank you very much, Anut. And good try, Yusuf. It's actually A-S-S-U-M-E. And if I break out of A-S-S-U-M-E into 3 words, that is A-S-S, 1, U, 2, ME, 3. What does ASS mean? Or what is it?
As.
As. Okay. It is as, and also it is an ass, right? An ass means a mule or a donkey, right? So assume means you make a donkey out of you and me. You make an ass out of you and me, right? So that's what I did the other day. So when it comes to organizing your speech, and especially when it comes to a prepared speech, you must not assume about three very important things. The three very important things are OAT, O-A-T, the objectives of your presentation or your prepared speech. O stands for objectives, A stands for audience, and T stands for timeline or the time duration. These are three very important things you need to remember about organizing your speech and preparing your speech. Because if you get these three things wrong, you will be embarrassed like I was 8 years ago. Because the moment they said Colombo secretaries, I went and I assumed my audience was going to be these young girls who are in the secretaries profession, who are high tech, who are looking at all these top corporate leaders. No, my audience were members of the chapter who were pretty much retired. My audience were not young girls, they were older people who have served secretary post for a long time. So whenever you get a chance to do a prepared speech, you need to ask the people who invite you, the people who organize that forum, information about the audience. Information about the audience. And also, you need to ask the important question, what are the objectives of my prepared speech? What do I need to achieve at the end of it? What do I need to serve for myself and for my audience? And if I had taken the trouble that day 8 years ago and asked my organizers who's going to be in the audience, what would they like to know about technology, I needn't have spent those hours doing research about the latest technologies related to secretarial services. And I wouldn't have embarrassed myself if I asked somebody and they said, hey, you just need to help these old grandfathers and grandmothers to create a Facebook account. That's all you need to do. And that's all you need to do is help them switch on their computers and talk to them, right? All you need to do is help them understand how to restart. That is digital technology for them, because all of them are 70 and 80-year-olds. Right now, they are not going to get into any latest technology. They just need to interact. They just need to get, and mind you, 8 years ago, we weren't in a virtual environment like today. So a lot of them didn't even want to know how Zoom works, right? A lot of them didn't want to know how Microsoft Teams work, because all of them went to school. They didn't have virtual classrooms, right? So my dear scouts, I know what is the motto of Scouts. You got to forgive me. I was a member of 21st Colombo about good, I think it was almost 25 years ago. So what is the motto of Scouts? Can somebody unmute their mic and tell me, please?
Sir, it's do your best. Do your best.
Do your best. Lovely. So in order to do your best in a prepared speech, you must be prepared. Where do you find be prepared? Isn't that also a motto of something?
Yeah, in Scouts.
Of the scouting.
Sorry, say that again, Chanu.
It is the motto of the Scouts. Be prepared.
Right. Be prepared. Do your best. Be prepared. These are things that as Scouts you are constantly trained. So when it comes to organizing your speech, preparing your speech, you've got to be prepared. You got to find out about your speech, who's going to be in the audience, what might they want to know, and what do I want to achieve by speaking to them, the objectives, your audience, and most importantly, you need to know what is the time duration that is allocated for you. Because in this country, one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of speakers do is that they do not find out how long they have to do their presentation, right? Again, I don't mean to sound like an old man complaining about life, but I want you to understand, if you have been to an event that is graced by a politician in this country, you tell them you have 10 minutes to speak to the audience, and when they start speaking, they will go on and on and on and on, and halfway through, people in the audience are like falling asleep, and they're thinking, hey, please stop. We came here to have some food and enjoy. Why? And they will talk about this country needs this country needs that. All what we know is they're doing is they're ruining this country, but they will come when they get the opportunity, they'll talk forever and ever and ever and ever. And that is not good, because when you are prepared, that means you know how much you have, whether it is 5 minutes, whether it is 10 minutes, whether it's 15 minutes. And you are prepared for that time period, because as a very good speaker, the sign of preparing for your speech and also a sign of showing respect to your audience is that if they are willing to give you 10 minutes of your time, you honor that and you go ready for 10 minutes of your time. And you fulfill everything that you need to say within that 10 minutes. That is what is meant by being prepared. That is what is meant by being organized. And that is also how you become a great speaker. You respect the time of the audience. Because remember, right now, it's Boxing Day morning. It's a very special day for Sri Lankans because 2004, that is 16 years ago, on a day like this, the country faced one of the biggest catastrophes, right? And all of you could be attending remembrance services. You may have lost your family, your friends. It's an important day. So on a day, and even if that is the case, forget that. It's the Boxing Day holiday. It's the day that some of the best test cricket is played in the world. If it is a year of ashes, you will see the Australians in England playing the boxing test. Do we have a boxing test today? Is India playing any boxing test with Australia today? Does anyone know that?
Yes, sir.
They are playing a game today, right?
Yeah, India versus Australia.
Yes, sir.
See, as a cricket fan myself, Boxing Day test is some of the best cricket.
3, sir. Third test of Sri Lanka versus South Africa, first test today.
Today we're starting, is it?
South Africa. Sri Lanka versus South Africa.
Yes, sir. 1:30
p.m.
Ah, right. Okay. So there you go. See, Boxing Day Test cricket is a very, very important thing. And me being a cricket fan, I'm embarrassed that I couldn't remember these things. But Boxing Day Test is important, right? Now, imagine this. Today, you could have been doing a lot of things, but you have given me your time. You have logged in and you have listened, given your time to me. So I have to show respect. And if you tell me I have half an hour, I've got to honor that. And I can't do that if I don't ask for my time duration and organize my speech to match that. So whenever you are given time, and as you become great speakers, and not just that, you are all good scouts, great scouts. So you got to live by the mottos as well. You got to do your best and you got to be prepared. So ask about the objectives, prepare the objectives yourself. What do I want to achieve out of this? Do I want to inspire my audience? Do I want to tell them a story? What is my objective? Do I want to motivate them to take some action? Do I want to entertain them? Do I want to make them laugh? Right? What would my audience want? Ask yourself these questions. This will help you organize. Remember, OAT. I repeat these things because I want you to remember these things. Objectives, audience, and the time duration. Right. Now that we are ready, let us move on. Let us move on to the next point that I want to share with you is what is called a wireframe. A wireframe for a prepared speech. When you organize your speech, you got to prepare what is called a wireframe. How many of you know what a wireframe in general? Not in speech, don't worry about it. How many of you know what a wireframe is in general? You can unmute your mics and talk to me, please.
It's a thing that like makes up the structure of something.
Beautiful, well done. Who was it? Sorry, I couldn't catch the name.
Binuk.
Binuk.
Yeah.
Right, thank you for that, Binuk. Thank you, and you're spot on.
It's the structure of the speech.
Right, yes, thank you for that. I'm sorry I can't get the names of you guys, but thank you for that. Thank you for being interactive, right? So I'm just organizing. Okay, a wireframe is something that you use as a structure before you start building the actual thing. So similarly, when it comes to organizing your speech, you've got to prepare what is called a wireframe. And a wireframe simply means You have three main parts of any speech. Anybody wants to take a guess? Three main parts of any speech.
Opening, body,
body, and the closing.
Well done.
Introduction, body, and the conclusion.
I had both Michelle and Tuhas giving the answers. Well done. Yes. So when it comes to a prepared speech, there are three important parts, as the boys mentioned. It's the opening, the body, and the conclusion, or the introduction, body, and the ending, right? So what we do when we prepare for a speech is that you can take the same sheet of paper, you can fold it into three, or you can have three separate sheets of paper. Doesn't matter. So you put opening, you put your body, and you put your conclusion. And first, what you do in terms of a wireframe is you ask yourself, what do I want to mention at the opening? Generally, you give a brief introduction about what you're going to say in the body of the speech, or you address the audience objectives, or you even welcome in your opening, depending on what sort of a prepared speech that you're giving. For example, if you are giving a welcome address at a school function, the opening needs to be welcoming people, acknowledging the important people that are there, mentioning to them what is the event today. It can be, for example, it can be your commerce day at school, it can be your English day, it can be your annual prize giving, right? It could be that, or it could be an event that you organize for the scouts of your troop, right? So you need to first remember, you're not writing your speech right now. You're not preparing your speech. You're just giving some headers as to what are the things that should be included in the opening. And then you go into the body of the speech and you do the same thing. You just give some headlines and you just say, what are some of the key things I want to address in my body, right? You might want to thank some people. You might want to acknowledge the presence of some people. You might want to say what a lot of work that has gone in. You might want to say what are the things that we have done this year, all those things. So in just bullet points, you organize your wireframe. What needs to go in the opening, what needs to go in the body, and then similarly, you look at the conclusion and say, what needs to go into the conclusion? Remember, these are still bullet points. These are still headers. These are still topics that you organize and you construct. So this gives you a bit of a structure. Sorry. This gives you what needs to go into the opening, what needs to go into the body, what needs to go into the conclusion. And also this gives you a bit of an idea as to how you are going to transition from your opening to the body, how you are going to move from your opening to the body, how are you going to move from your body to the conclusion. And here's another important thing that you can, or rather that you can do when you have a wireframe is that, remember I said at the beginning, you need to know the time duration that you have. How much of time do you have for your speech? So let's say you have 15 minutes to give a speech. Let's work towards a speech that you have to give at your school, at maybe your English day. You are giving a speech as the president or the secretary, right? Something like that. You are given 15 minutes. Now that you have your three parts, you know roughly how many minutes should I give for my opening, how many minutes should I include in my body, how many minutes should I include in my conclusion. So I'm going to give you a recommendation, but before I give the recommendation, can I please ask, does anybody want to take a guess? And if we say the speech as 100%, do you want to make recommendations and say what percentage should be given for the opening, the body, and the conclusion? Do you want to take a guess? What should be the breakdown for a speech? Just take a guess. There is no, let me tell you, there is no 100% right answer. You can just take some estimates.
Sir, for the opening 25, for the body 50, again for the conclusion 25.
Thank you to us. That's a good idea. Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else?
If it is a 7-minute prepared speech, we can give 1 minute for the opening and at least 4 to 4.5 minutes for the body, and the rest is for the conclusion.
Thanks, Michelle. That is also a good answer. And Amjad, no problem at all. If you want to type anything, you can type anything. I can still connect with you. No problem. If some of you are having problems with your mics, don't worry about it. You can type on the chat box. I will get the answers. So yeah, Tuhas and Mishal are giving answers. That's really good. So like I told you boys, there is no perfect formula for it. There are different versions, and then like what Tuhas said, you can even dedicate 25%, 50% for the body, 25% for the opening, and 25% for the conclusion. Or like what Mishal said, if it is a 7-minute speech, you can take about a minute, and then you can take about 4 to 5 minutes for the body, and then you can take another minute, right? So the idea is right. The idea is for the opening and for the conclusion, you give relatively a lesser time. Majority of the time should be spent on the body of your speech, where you are going to address the main objectives of it. That's the idea. And then in Toastmasters, we also talk about a 70-20-10, where we say 70% of your speech should be spent on the body. Maybe you can spend 10% at the opening and at 20% at the conclusion, or some of them even say 20% at the opening and 10% at the conclusion. Remember, boys, this is not a law. This is not a rule. This is a suggestion. The idea to keep in mind is majority of your speech should be spent on the body. That's the idea, right? So this will also help you. For example, if it is a 15-minute speech and let's say 10% of that is 1.5 minutes, right? 1.5 minutes or 90 seconds. And if it is a 15-minute speech, 20% of that is 3 minutes, right? So you can dedicate about 1.5 minutes for the opening, or if you want to keep the ending close, you can use that. Or if you want to keep 3 minutes, which is for the opening or the conclusion, so that itself is about 4.5 minutes. That means roughly 11.5 minutes, right? 11.5 minutes. No, that will be 10.5 minutes, isn't it? Yeah, no, 11.5, sorry. 11.5 minutes and 3.5 minutes. So 11.5 minutes roughly you have for the body. So when you prepare your wireframe and you identify, these are the things I want to mention in my opening, these are the things I want to mention in my body, these are the things I want to mention in my conclusion, depending on the breakdown that you have in your mind, you can decide, is my opening taking a lot of time, or is my conclusion taking a lot of time? If that is the case, you can look at it and see, okay, do I need to mention all these things in my opening? If I want to reduce the timing, you can organize your thinking, all right, I can reduce a few things in that. Or if you feel like, no, my opening is important, I need to mention all these things in my opening, then you can look at the body and then decide for yourself, how do I reduce a little bit from my body and give a little bit more for the opening or the ending, right? So this is how you organize your wireframe, and you use your wireframe and then adjust the timings in order to be better prepared to achieve your objectives, as well as to stick to the time and add value to your audience. Because end of the day, the idea of an organized speech, a good prepared speech, is to create value for your audience and to achieve your objectives. Before I move on, if any of you want to ask any questions, please go ahead and ask me anything based on the few things that I mentioned so far. If you want to share an idea, ask a question, please go for it.
Wireframe is like a mind map, no?
Yes, that is also one thing that you can do, Chanut. You can call it a mind map as well. If you're familiar with mind mapping techniques, you can use that, Chanut. No problem at all.
Because it is basically used in writing essays and something that commonly.
Yes, you're right. You're right. So for the friends who are here who are not familiar with mind mapping is a technique of organizing your thoughts. You can do this on computers. You can do this on a piece of paper. And in fact, since you are here, let me show you my mind map of some of the things that I have got prepared to do some of my work. I hope I can show my mind maps, because sometimes my notes are rather ugly. Let me show some mind maps that I have put in place. All right, so a lot of the mind maps, a lot of the notes are here, but unfortunately I do not have anything that I can share with you all because it's not very clear and organized. All right, not a problem. Right. So this is like a mind map. You can draw this and then do like opening, body, conclusion, and then you can type the things or write the things that you want. That's a mind map. Thanks for that, Chanut. I wasn't really going to share that, but since you brought it up, so you can mention that, and then you can mention what's the time you think should be spent on that, and then after that you get an idea. You can ask yourself, is that enough time or should I adjust that? So that's that. Any other questions?
Will doing like last minute changes like during the speech to the structure of it will like be harmful, or is it like?
So it's like this, Binuk. You can do that at the end of the day when you are doing a present. Now, for example, right now what happened when Chanut asked me about the mind mapping part, I wasn't really ready for that part, but because I thought it might add value, I was able to quickly pull out my notebook and show you a mind map. So if you get an opportunity to do a last minute change and you can still do that, that's fine. Go ahead and do that, right? Because at the end of the day, what is important is you're connected to the audience and you're creating value. Remember, even though you do last minute changes, you have got to be mindful that those changes don't change your original objectives and it doesn't put you in a fix. That's the important thing. So be mindful of that. You can make last minute changes. The idea is to be prepared so that even you can make last minute changes effectively. You don't lose out on that. That's the idea. So good. That's a good suggestion. Thanks, Bino. Any other questions?
So I have a question.
Sir, why did you put this name Toastmasters?
I'll come to that answer, Yusuf. Mishal, you were saying something.
Yes, sir. After we divide all the time, like we have, for example, I have a what do you call it, a speech of 7 minutes, a prepared speech. So I am allocating time for the this one for the opening, body, and the closing, and everything is done. Now I am writing my speech, and the next thing, the students, or we as school students, we tend to memorize the speech. So that is not the ideal thing, right? It's after we memorize, like when we get into the stage, we get like we get a stage fear. So we tend to forget everything. So what are like small tips so that we don't memorize, or either like, is there any other tips?
Right, right. So thanks for that question, Michelle. In fact, that is going to be the next point I want to address, is that writing a speech is very important, but I would recommend writing a speech only if the duration of the speech is short. If it is a longer duration, I would not encourage you to write the entire speech, simply because it's hard to memorize a long thing and keep it in mind. That's not the objective. I would suggest saying use bullet points of the different points that you want to address. So that way, even if you forget, you can have it as a small, I'm sure some of you are familiar with it, called the cue card system. Whenever you're doing something, a cue card is a very, very small sort of like a note that you can keep that highlights the main points that you want to address. So when you have that, instead of memorizing, you can always look at it. But of course, you need to have your points organized so that you can mention these things, right? Once you have a cue card system, even if you forget the next point, you can always look at it and then remember or remind yourself, all right, this is the thing. And also, if you have to write a speech and memorize it, I would always encourage it, saying when you practice your speeches, don't only do opening or from the beginning to the end. When you practice your speech, train yourself to start from the middle. Train yourself to start from an interesting story. Train yourself to start from different parts. That way, you have internalized the speech very well into your mind, that even if you get stuck at a point, you can always overcome that. So those are two things that you can keep in mind, right? Yusuf is asking a question, when you prepare a speech at first. Okay, let me just check that. Okay. Okay, so there's a few questions. Let me. When you prepare a speech, so Yusuf is asking, when you prepare a speech at first, you write it roughly in a piece of paper. Yes, you can use a rough piece of paper. That's not a problem. 5 minutes, Ruhaim. How you split 5 minutes is, Ruhaim, generally, like I said, spend about 3.5 minutes on the body of it, maybe about 45 seconds each on the opening and the conclusion. Like I said, there is no perfect answer. It's all up to you, but the idea is to spend majority of your time on it, on the body of your speech. Okay, if you haven't prepared for a speech that you have to give tomorrow, you may not be able to go through this whole thing. The important thing is at least to ask yourself, what are the objectives that I want to achieve and what's the best way to present it? If you have a speech tomorrow and you're getting ready today, that's not really scout-like. So you've got to get ready as early as possible. Okay. Do not prepare a speech, how do you prepare at the last minute? Right. I hope I have covered the questions that are coming in the chat box. Right. Thank you. Okay. So Yusuf's question, why is it called Toastmasters? Well, when Dr. Ralph C. Smedley was thinking about how do you call this new organization, he was eating some toast with jam. That's why he called it Toastmasters.
Thank you, sir.
No, I'm kidding. That's a joke. That's not how it is done. That's not how it is done, Yusuf. The reason why it is called toast is in the Western civilization, the word toast means you celebrate somebody. You generally stand up and address an audience. That's called a toasting, right? And I believe if DTM Modita is around, he can add value to this. The idea of the Western speech when Dr. Ralph C. Smedley started this was for people to stand up and toast, to propose a toast. And that was the primary form of communication that they used mostly in that time. You're talking about 1920s. That's how they started. So because of that, it was referred to as Toastmasters because it was training people to be masters as getting up and proposing toasts and doing that. That's the idea why it is called, and definitely not because Dr. Smedley was eating toast when he was thinking of Toastmasters. No, and I get it a lot, Yusuf. A lot of people think that Toastmasters has something to do with toasting. It's nothing to do with toasting in the sense of breads that we know.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes, Chanan.
Before giving a speech, what are the tips to gain confidence about giving the speech?
Okay. Thank you for that, Chanut. One of the things that you need to do is you need to visualize. What is meant by visualize? You close your eyes and you see in your mind's eye. What you need to do is you need to see yourself delivering that speech. And you need to see yourself delivering that speech confidently. You need to see yourself standing on that stage, standing on that podium, standing in front of that computer or seated in front of that computer and delivering that speech confidently. So before you do the actual presentation, you need to visualize it in your mind where you do it with so much of energy and confidence. And you've got to see in your mind's eye how the audience will react, how they will applaud and appreciate you, and how you will receive the confidence. Visualization is one important technique. Next thing to improve your confidence is to prepare. That means to have your speech prepared, read through that, practice it. And one of the last tips that I wanted to share that I can share with you right now is you need to do what is called a dress rehearsal. A dress rehearsal simply means that you got to dress up the way that you are going to give that speech. For example, if you're giving that speech in school and you're going to dress up in your full uniform with the tie and then the blazer, you got to dress up like that. And if possible, you got to go. How many of you are a part of theater who takes part in drama in school? How many of you?
Sir, I do.
Right, good. So what is meant by a dress rehearsal to us? Have you been a part of a dress rehearsal before a production?
Yes, sir. I have been.
What do you do to us?
Sir, we have our actual costume which we wear, but it's not with it's just a practice with costumes.
Brilliant. That's exactly what I mean. So even as a speaker, you need to get up and without the audience, or if you want your mother or your father or your siblings to be in the audience, that is fine. As much as possible, go to the live environment and practice. When you practice it without the audience, even if you make mistakes, you can correct yourself. And when you try that out, on the day when you go in front of an actual audience, you will realize that you have been in this costume, you have been in this attire, you've been in this place, and you have visualized how amazing it is going to be. When you do these things, Chanu, this adds to your confidence. And also having your speech written down in bullet form as a cue card and having it also helps. And then also practicing your speech a few times, and also to identify a few people in the audience who are friendly, who are your friends, who will be there to support you, like your parents, your teachers. As you go into the audience and you see them and you identify and you make a bit of eye contact and smile with them, that also adds to your confidence. So these are some of the things to do that puts you in a confident place to deliver your speech. I hope these answers are useful, Chanu.
Thank you, sir.
Right. Okay, guys, thank you very much for the questions. I'm going to move on to the next part that I want to share with you, a few pointers. So once you have prepared your wireframe, now the next thing is you got to come up with what is called support material. What I mean by support material are parts and elements of your speech that is going to add value, add color to your speech. These could be stories. So when you look at your opening, your body, and your conclusion, you can ask yourself, what are some of the stories that I can tell? Maybe from my personal life, maybe from the popular life of people from the popular media, or maybe it could be stories about my family members, right? Stories is one important thing. And then you can ask some nice quotations that you can do, right? Then you can ask about, hey, if you want to sing a song in the middle of your speech, that's a support material that adds color to your speech. So you can think about it. If I want to sing a small part of a speech, what is that? And also, how does that fit into my wireframe? Should I sing the song as a part of my opening? Should I sing the song as a part of my body? Or should I sing the song as a part of my conclusion? So support material are stories, quotations, and songs. Or not just that. Most of you were a part of DTM Modi's presentation before he was using a presentation. The presentation is a support material for that. And in that presentation, he brought in images of my good friend and mentor Dhananjay Hettiarachchi, to DTM Marunachalam Balraj, to Dr. Ralph C. Smedley. These are support materials. So remember, we still haven't started writing the speech. We are still fulfilling the wireframe, and we are putting in material that needs to go into this organization. And then you ask, okay, if I bring in this story, how is that going to affect my timing? If I bring in this quotation, where is the best place I can use this quotation? If I want to, that's how you start. It's like organizing your speech is like making a really nice dish. You have seen your mothers, your fathers cook in the kitchen. They bring in all the material and they put it in right mixes and parts, and they cook it for the right time. That's when you get a right dish. Like that, if you want to deliver a brilliant speech, if you want to be organized and prepared to deliver a brilliant speech, this is how you prepare your wireframe, and then you bring in your support material. Once the support material is done, this is when you go into actual writing or organizing of your speech. Until this point, you were only collecting material and you organizing your thoughts. Now you go into writing. And here's the thing. If you are delivering a short speech, you can write word to word. But if you are delivering a 15-minute speech, it's not going to be very easy to write the whole thing word to word, right? If you are delivering a long speech, it's encouraged not to write word to word. However, you can write the important things. Maybe the first minute, 1.5 minutes, your opening, how you want to make it very, very interesting to the audience, get their attention. That's the idea. That part you can write, you can memorize and practice. Maybe your body has so many points that you can't write everything. However, you can write the main points as bullet points, and then you can mention for bullet point number 1, I'm going to mention the story about my childhood and my this thing. So that is going to be your speech that is going to give you an opportunity to remember that and then to take it forward. And also remember, if it is a short speech, especially if you're giving speeches, now that most of you will be joining the Gavel programs and the Toastmasters programs, and you need to give 3 to 5 minute speeches, I would always encourage you to write speeches. And remember, great speeches are not written, they are rewritten again and again. So once you have the framework ready, once you have the main points ready, once you have written your 3 to 5 minute speech, you've got to write it, let it stay there, go do some other work, talk to some other people, maybe even sleep, Tomorrow morning, come back, look at it again. You might be able to make improvements. You might be able to rewrite with some great ideas. So like that, some of the greatest speeches were written and rewritten many, many, many times. That's how you get the best version of your speech. And once you do that, as I mentioned before, once you have your speech ready, practice, practice, practice. And you practice with your actual costume in the actual setup, what is called a dress rehearsal. That's when you know your speech is ready to be delivered. So these are the few points that I wish I did 8 years ago when I met those secretaries and I wouldn't have embarrassed myself. Now that I know these things, these are things that I practice to organize my thinking and to organize my speech so that you can deliver a brilliant speech, not just that one time, but you can do it again and again so that you become a great, great communicator who's giving your best, right? So that is my presentation for you today. And I would like to leave it at that. And since we had a lot of questions as well, if you have one or two questions, I can take it. Do you have one or two questions that you want to fire at me before we close the session?
I have very small question. We'll just finish in after this. If it is there is a small part segment in the gavel, I think a humor speech. We have to do a humor. So when we are doing a humor speech, so where can we find a correct topic? How can we find a correct topic for the humor speech?
Right. So Vishal, in any speech, especially if it is Toastmaster speeches, if it is gavel speeches, I would always say, don't start with the topic, right? Don't start with the topic unless the topic is given to you. Always try to start by asking, what is an incident or a story I want to share? What is an experience I want to share? Start with that. The topic is the last thing that we do. We don't write topics and then start writing speeches. And for that matter, we don't write speeches from word to word from the beginning, like I mentioned. So we shall start by, what's that incident or the story that I want to? So when it comes to humor, the best place to look for is ask yourself, what was the last time that I really, really laughed from my belly, right? Where was that? With whom was that? It could be with your friends. It could be at a family dinner. Think of the incident. Think of what made you really, really laugh. Or for that matter, if you can't remember you laughing, you remember everyone else laughing. Generally, that is when you embarrassed yourself a lot, right? Not very long ago, this would have been about a few weeks ago. I was at a, I can't call it an event per se, but I was with a few of my clients, and then I went there and I was speaking to them for about a few minutes. I was standing naturally because I was a trainer, and they were in the audience, and there were a couple of young girls who started laughing like this, right? And I was wondering, why is that? And then one of my clients who got up, they came up to me and whispered in my ear and said, hey, your fly is down. Or in other words, my sip is open. I just went to the washroom before doing that session, and I came out of the washroom without remembering that I have forgotten to unzip, or rather to zip back, put my flyer back. So that was quite an embarrassing situation. You know, I wasn't laughing, everyone else was laughing. But when you relate a story like that, it's funny. So you can always go back and think of the embarrassing situations in your life that you can talk about, right? That can talk about. So yeah, you can talk about it. And these are the places that you can start looking for humor, Michelle. So it's either a part where you were laughing or a part where you were embarrassed and others were laughing. These are good places to start.
Yeah, so thank you so much.
Mr. Sandun, can I ask a question?
Yes, Harry.
Yes, so this is a part of my life experience, and I have been like when I'm going to do speeches, and I have been like, and I had been I have been had confidence, but sometimes when I go to the stage during the first few seconds, I guess, and when I'm starting, I feel like I can't do this, and I'm scared at the for the first few seconds, and I'm like, but after a while, I have the naturality, and I can do that. But what's the reason for those first few seconds, and how to overcome that?
Yeah, thanks for that question, Terry. That's a valid question for a lot of people. Even I am still nervous in the first few seconds when I speak. I have spoken for more than 4,500 hours for more than 11 years. Still, I am still nervous when I start. So, one of the things that I do is just before I go on stage and start the presentation, for about few seconds, I focus on my breathing. I take a couple of deep breaths and I focus on that. I close my eyes and like I said before, I close my eyes and I visualize myself giving a fantastic speech. I see myself where the audience is giving me a round of applause and they appreciate it. I close my eyes and I see that. That helps me to overcome the first few seconds of nervousness, right? So focusing on the breathing, and closing my eyes and visualizing with the audience is enjoying the speech with me and everything going right. And also I try to remember the first few lines. At that point, I don't try to remember everything about the speech. I only try to remember the first few lines, right? That is it. And also let me share a little secret with you. This was taught by one of my mentors when I was struggling a lot. My mentor told me, as you go on stage, imagine the entire audience is naked. When that happens, you'll be laughing, you won't be nervous. So that's a little secret that I learned that works till the time. Yusuf is finding it very funny and so is Amjad and all. But it puts you at ease. It makes you laugh when you imagine all the audience is naked. So then, yeah, these are some of the tricks. However, Terry, like you said, it's the first few seconds that is important. So the first few seconds, remember the first few lines, focus on your breathing. And if you want to say a small prayer and say, God, give me the strength to be successful in this speech, and that's how it works. Right. I think my friend Hashini is reminding me that my time is up. So thank you very much once again, boys, for this opportunity, for giving me this opportunity to be back with the Scouts after almost 20-25 years. It's always be good to be here. And then a big shout out to the 21st Colombo Scout Troop, the Josephians, and to the Colombo Scouts as well. All the very best, guys. Be prepared. Give your best, because the world needs a lot of you to come in and do this. And communication is an amazing art to deliver that. So join Toastmasters, join Gabble, and take this movement and let us all together make this world a better place. Thank you. And here's me. Wait, it's this, right? Let me see if I remember. Yes.
Yes,
this.
sir. Yes, sir.
So here's me.
Thank you, sir.
All the best, boys.
Thank you, sir.
All the best.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, sir. All the best, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, as John Scott once said, and Toastmaster Sandun, of course, re-emphasized, you can speak well if your tongue can deliver the message of your heart. Thank you very much, Toastmaster Sandun, for enlightening our audience today on how to construct a good speech with a valuable message out of disorganized thoughts, ideas, fragments of material. I'm sure that the entire audience will agree with me on this. And to top things off, it was wonderful to see so much interaction on an online platform. That was indeed extremely encouraging. So a big thank you to every one of you. But let me again remind you to have your microphones on mute, and most probably your video is also switched off so that we can move on to our next session. So next up, we have with us today another distinguished Toastmaster who also has a history of being a scout back at school. He is a proud product of Wesley College, Colombo, who works for EFL Sri Lanka as a manager key accounts and has more than 12 years of experience in logistics and supply chain. He joined Toastmasters in 2012. He's a distinguished Toastmaster. That means the highest recognition awarded to Toastmasters members. He is a 3 times Triple Crown winner and a past president of Expo Lanka Toastmasters Club, where he even led the club to achieve the Golden Gavel Award. Zaidh is a dual member, and he was the youngest member to lead as the Charter Vice President membership. and the president of the first and only Advanced Toastmasters Club, that is the Pinnacle Advanced Toastmasters Club in Sri Lanka. Zaidh is a past division director of Division F. He has been an area director of Area F4 and also is a pioneer in chartering the Pinnacle Gavel Club, that is a community gavel club comprising of about 55 plus school students of the ages between 12 and 18 years. Currently, he is serving as the Extension and Retention Chair for Division A and E of District 82. He has undergone many trainings, which includes Unleash the Power Within, conducted by the #1 life coach in the world, Tony Robbins, that is in Singapore in 2018. So please join me in welcoming distinguished Toastmaster Zaidh Naushard to enlighten you on meeting management in Toastmasters. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Hashini, for that lovely introduction about myself. And I'm glad to see all of you, the Scouts, after a very, very long time. I was part of 14th Colombo. Anyone from 14th Colombo? Give me a shout out. Wesley College? No one? Wow, that's surprisingly. By the way, you can keep your videos on if you wish and keep your mics unmuted if you have questions to ask. No problem at all, as long as the session is not disturbed. So sad to see that no one is here from 14th Colombo. However, my experience in scouting actually added a lot into my current day-to-day life as well. I was a Cub Scout. Just to remind you about the background, I was a Cub Scout who became a junior scout, and I too had that typical dad who said, now enough of extracurricular activities, O-levels are approaching, stop everything and study. But today, I can't blame my dad for saying that, because I got 8 A's for my O-levels, and don't know whether because I stopped extracurricular activities and studied, or maybe I could have managed both. But one thing I can say, you Scouts, the young generation right now, are capable of doing both together. And my plea for you is don't stop scouting, because if I learned something today in matter of living my life, living alone, in the sense like managing my things alone, plus respecting each other, all credits are for the scouting movement. With that little bit of background, now let me start my presentation about meeting management. Today, I'm going to talk about meeting management in general. Not going to focus about Toastmaster meetings in specific or Scout meetings, what we have in specific. But we both understand that it is common for both of us. Even in Scoutings, we have our petrol meetings, activities planned, while at Toastmasters, it is purely run with the club meetings. But here I'm going to give you a few general things that you can use outside of scouting or Toastmasters in your day-to-day life. Let it be a school meeting, let it be another club meeting, if you are a Rotractors, Rotract meetings, or even if you're from a corporate background, if anyone is here, you can even apply this in a corporate background. With that small introduction, I am going to share my screen, and please let me know if you can see my screen. Let me share. Can all of you see my screen?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And if you have any questions, you can use the chat box, and I will try to answer after the session or in the middle. And you can also raise your hand or just ask any questions if you have anything to be cleared. My favorite slide. I was privileged to be part of these two organizations, Scouting, even though I was a junior scout back in then, and as well as now Toastmasters. Now this slide is very important for me. Why? That is because if you see the history of Scouts and Toastmasters, there are some similarities. I'll tell you what. Our founder of Scouts, who's our founder?
Baden-Powell.
Yes, Lord Baden-Powell. Who's the founder of Toastmasters? Modita just mentioned. No problem. Dr. Ralph C. Smedley. Now, Scouting was found in the year 1908 and Toastmasters was found in the year 1924 officially. Then what happened? Scouting was mainly UK based and Toastmasters was USA based. That's another thing. But if you see one thing from this experience, I found one thing very similar. Toastmasters is about leadership and communication, where we train people to develop their leadership skills and communication skills. While Scouting, what do? They use these two skills in their day-to-day activities. They use their leadership skills, they use their communication skills in your day-to-day activities. Now, if you don't communicate, if you don't portray yourself as a leader, can you be a successful scout? No, you cannot. And that's the training it gives. So the organization goes hand in hand while developing communicators and leaders. Now, if you see another similarity of this organization, of these two organizations, the vision of the founders. Now, they carefully planned this. They had meetings among themselves, how to execute, how to carry this forward. And they executed whatever the decisions they took, followed by feedback, continuously improving generations after generations. And that's why I believe these two organizations stood for more than 100 years. Toastmasters are closer to 100 years and Scouts are already surpassed 100 years. And your membership has grown in an immense way, where I believe you have almost 50 million members around the country, around the world. And Sri Lanka alone, you have around 40,000 members, if my numbers are right. How could this happen? Is because of that carefully planning and executing and with the follow-up of these activities. That is why I am going to take the approach for today's session: plan, execute, and feedback, which will give you an effective meeting so that your decisions, whatever you do, will also long last. Up to now, are you with me? I hope you are with me.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Now, how many of you are in this situation where you go for meetings, you don't have any understanding about why you are here? Just because your petrol leader pushes you, or your teachers push you, or because of your club president pushes you, or your boss pushes you, you are at a meeting, but you don't know why you are here. Most of the time, this happens to us. We don't know why we are here. And that itself is the beginning to have unsuccessful meetings. Now let me take you through few aspects what I believe makes a meeting ineffective. Number one factor, the meeting itself is unnecessary. Have you ever felt situations where we have called for these meetings with everyone is present, and we start trying to discuss things where we could have simply done that over the phone or with an email? Have you ever? These things, whatever you can do over the phone or by an email, please go ahead and do without meeting in physical or even in online, because it is a waste of time. So you need to determine whether it is really needed to meet, or it can be done over the phone or by sending simply sending an email. Number two, the meeting lacks clarity of purpose. Most of us, sometimes when we meet, we wonder, why are we here? What are we going to discuss? Some meetings are called by people, they themselves don't have an idea why they call for a meeting. And everyone is here and now they are starting to plan. Okay, let's do this. And someone will say, no, let's talk about this. Another person will say, no, let's talk about something else. And that itself goes for a waste. Number three, I would say inappropriate style of leadership from the chairperson. Now, every meeting has a leader and people to follow, isn't it? Like that, the leader himself takes the ownership of the meeting without consulting anyone. Will that meeting be a successful meeting? Now imagine in your school, you've been asked to come for a meeting to discuss about something. Let's say you are in extracurricular activities, a club, let's say, or even at scouting. So you've been called to discuss about a issue. When you go there, and while sitting at the meeting chair, the leader himself, he himself gives you the problem. He himself discusses the problem among himself, and he himself will give the solution. Will that be an effective meeting? Will that be? No, it is not.
No, sir, not at all.
Not at all. Yeah, from that sound itself, I can feel that most of the time this happens to us. We just go, sit, listen, and come back without any proper solution. So it is not a good sign. So next time, do you feel that you need to go for another meeting of this caliber? I don't think so. I will personally not like it. Not at all. Yes. The next point is allows 1 or 2 members to dominate. Now, have you seen the other way of doing meetings? Now, the leader is sitting and the others are conducting the meeting while the leader is silently sitting and listening to everyone without interrupting or directing the meeting. Have you seen that? Sometimes when you have, like, if it's a corporate or even if you have a lot of seniors sitting, the leader is there, but everyone else is speaking. Is this a good sign? No, it is not. You need everyone to collaborate, everyone to support each other and come to to decisions. Otherwise, the leader is just there. Few people talk, they dominate, they don't allow anyone else to speak. They take a decision, meeting dismissed. And that won't be an effective meeting in future. My other point is, too many cooks spoil the soup. Have you heard this before?
Yes, sir. Allowed.
Yes. Now, when you have too many people in a meeting, that meeting will be like a spoiled soup, because everyone will give their ideas. Everyone will tell what needs to be done, but no one will actually do anything. I can relate this to Sri Lankan politics though, but let's not get there. Most of the time, that's what happens. Everyone speaks, everyone gives their ideas, but action, no one is doing. So try to bring only the necessary people. If it's about, let's say you are handling a project and you have different elements in that project. Let's say task 1, task 2, task 3. 3 different teams are handling the project. I'll take an example. You are doing this. Let's take this campery itself. This campery, can it be done alone? Can it be done with just one team? I don't think so. You will have a marketing team, you will have a registrations team, you will have a coordination team, you will have a logistics team, fundraising, finance team. Let's say you have 5 teams. Now, if all these 5 teams sit together in one meeting to discuss, will that meeting be effective? Or is it better to take 5 different meetings with 5 different groups only to discuss about that object? I think the second one is better, because you will not waste anyone else's time. Sounds good? So each time, remember, too many cooks will only spoil the soup. Going forward, wrong decisions. Sometimes you discuss for hours and hours and hours and hours and take the wrong decision, which is not useful for anyone. So do you think people will come back again for the next meeting? Is it effective? I don't think so. Problems are talked about rather than problems being talked through. Some meetings, we get people to talk only about problems. We have this problem. This is a huge problem. Now, this is a kind of problem. And we talk about the problem rather than what can be done. The solutions are not being spoken. What kind of a problem this is, what we can do to bring a solution is not being spoken. So people put meetings just to talk about problems. I don't think it will be an effective meeting. Next is about decisions. Sometimes we talk hours and hours and hours and hours, and after 2 hours, we postpone the meeting for the next week without taking a decision. So what did we do for the entire 2 hours? We wasted our time. So when there is a need to take decisions, don't ever postpone your meeting. No clear-cut decisions are made. Sometimes people take decision, a very vague decision, and others don't understand. Some people take a decision saying, okay, we are going to do this, but clear indication, the clear direction is not given on how to do. Because of that, people can get confused. Meeting minutes are inaccurate or manipulated. Now, have you ever seen, if you are a patrol leader or a troop leader, when these scouts bring to sign the logbook about their day-to-day activities, sometimes I can remember when I was a scout, our Saturday activities, we used to meet on Saturdays, and activities should be written in logbooks. I'm talking about 18 years back, forgive my memory. We have to write everything, and the patrol leader has to certify and sign the logbook within 2 or 3 days. Some days I have written and gone things which amused the patrol leader. He was thinking, did this really happen during a meetup? That happens even at meetings. Some meeting minutes, when you read, you will understand not at all something like that happened, but it is in the meeting minutes. So people have not, whoever the secretary has not followed, or you have not followed in taking the minutes appropriately. Now, this also will lead to an ineffective meeting. Write what is necessary and what happened. Don't try to manipulate the meeting minutes. And my final point is, what am I doing here? Like my first point, some of us go for meetings, we stand there for hours and hours, we sit there for hours and hours, and then at the end of the meeting to see it was not relevant for me. We have only wasted time. So these are few things why a meeting can be ineffective. Sounds good? Are you clear? Any questions so far? With the silence, I believe there are no questions. Now let me give you a small formula of conducting effective meetings. Just 3 steps. Number 1, it is planning. Number 2, it's about meeting. And number 3, it's about feedback. Remember when I spoke about the 2 organizations in my first slide, I said both of those leaders, they planned, they executed their plan, and then they got evaluations, they got feedback to improve it. And that is why our organization stands for almost closer to 100 years or beyond 100 years. This is exactly the same for meetings as well. Why do you have to plan for a meeting? Any idea? Why do you have to plan for a meeting? We normally have a meeting to plan something, right? Then why do you have to plan something? I will tell you why. Simply because meeting itself is a task. Meeting itself is a task which requires planning. In my other slides, I'm going to discuss how we are going to plan a meeting. But remember, you need to plan something. Very clear. And once you plan, then you meet. You don't meet and then plan. You plan and then meet. Once you discuss and come to a conclusion, conclude the meeting. After the meeting, you need to take feedback. You need to follow up, which I will discuss in detail in my next few slides. And once that follow-up is done, very important, if necessary, repeat. Again, meet, again, plan, meet, feedback. Plan, meet, feedback. This is a repeated cycle until your project is over or your task is over. Sounds good? Are you there with me as of now? You can use an emoji to show.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now let's see.
Sir.
Thank you. Now let's see how we can plan an effective meeting. Now I'm going to give you a few tips that I got from my research. You may have different things. I would like to know about them as well. If you type it in the chat box or after the session, just have a very healthy discussion so that we'll discuss. And these are the things what I found. When it comes to planning, number one thing, you need to know the objective. Why are we meeting? Now, this is before the meeting. Why are we meeting? List down the reasons why are we meeting so that you will not deviate from the objective of the meeting. The objective of this meeting can be to organize a camporee, to organize something, organize an event. That is the objective of the meeting. Write the objective very clearly. And the second one is the purpose. What are we going to do? Very different. Purpose and the objective. Objective, I'll repeat, why are we meeting? The purpose is, what are we going to do during the meeting? That also right. For example, the same thing, we are going to organize an event. That is the objective. The meeting purpose is to identify the teams, to carry on the tasks, to identify how we are going to raise funds, to identify how we are going to get the approvals, to identify how we are going to carry this forward, to put up a timeline, and then any other business. Now that is a purpose. What are we going to do during a meeting? Very important. Once you have those two in place, agenda is a must. A meeting without an agenda has no purpose, no objective, no direction, and of course, no conclusion. It will go for days without a conclusion. That is why in Toastmasters, agenda is a must, and we never meet without an agenda. Even if it's a 5 minutes meeting, first what we do is we put up an agenda. It can be just 3 things: opening the meeting, points to discuss, 2 points, closing the meeting, but still an agenda is a must. And what do we do in an agenda? What do we mention? We mention a very important thing. Anyone? What do we mention in the agenda other than the tasks we do? A special thing we mention.
Time period?
Yes, the time period. Very good.
Allocated.
Time allocation. Very good. Very good. The time period, that is the most important thing. See and put a realistic timing. Put 10 minutes to discuss point number 1, 5 minutes to discuss point number 2, 15 minutes if it's a critical thing to discuss, 15 minutes, so that you know how to manage that time. Otherwise, what happens is, to discuss about why we met, you spend about 30 minutes. The meeting itself is 1 hour. How to finish in 1 hour? You cannot do. In Toastmasters, we do a beautiful thing. Every speech is timed. Every segment is timed. And we use a thing called color cards. Green, yellow, and red card. Now, if a speech is 10 minutes, we tell the speaker, we are going to show color cards, 8, 9, 10. And at the 10th minute, you have 30 seconds maximum to wrap up. Or if you feel 5, 7, 10, we need to show color cards so that speech will be done in 10 minutes. Do so. At the 5th minute or the 5th minute, let's say 5, 7, 10, 5th minute, we show the green card. 7th minute, we show the yellow card. And at the last minute, 9th or the 10th minute, you show the red card so the speaker can finish and conclude. If you are at a meeting, the segment can be concluded other than being embarrassed. Imagine if someone tells you, enough, you are overtime, kindly shut up and sit. How rude it is. How embarrassing it is. So using a color card would be less embarrassing. When you show the red card, the speaker will understand, okay, my time is up. I need to conclude. Trust me, this works. Moving on. Who should be there for a meeting? Less is more. Have you heard? Less is more. More people, more complicated theories, more discussion points, and more, it's like a soup again. Try to have the minimum people at a meeting. If it's about 2 to 3 people, just go ahead and have those minimum people, but very important ones. Some of our meetings, the principal is not there, but everyone else is there. That also, it's not going to work. So have the proper people and have the most important people rather than calling everyone for a meeting. Next point is meeting minutes. Very, very important. At the planning stage itself, decide who's going to take meeting minutes. Have you seen when we go for some meetings, during the meeting, we ask, can you take minutes? For example, I'll use Hashini's name, the moderator today. Hashini, I'm going to do this session now. Can you take minutes? What will she do if I ask her to take minutes right in the middle of the meeting? She has to go find a paper. She has to be attentive. And whatever she wanted to say, she'll get distracted. So don't ever do that. If you are to take minutes, determine who's going to take minutes. Inform that person so that that person is prepared. Minutes have to be very accurate, which I will come in the next slide. You need to ensure this is done. Next is that, have I done my homework? If it's a repeating meeting, how many of us sometimes go to the meeting and say, sorry, I couldn't do it. Next meeting, I'll get it done. How many of us do that? It's again inappropriate because everyone at the meeting is waiting for your update. And at the meeting, you're saying, sorry, I'll get back to you in a week. If you couldn't do it, have that discipline to inform the relevant people beforehand so that they can take that item out of the agenda. Don't give surprises then and there saying that I didn't do it. Because of that, I cannot give an update. Make sure you do your homework. Timeline is very, very important. In case if you have a series of meetings, let's take camper itself as an example. Today, I have a perfect example, this event. You can't plan this event with one single meeting, can you? No, you can't. You have to have a series of meetings. Plan all those meetings in advance. Today, we are going to sit and discuss about this with the outcome. Next week, we are going to meet and we are going to do this. The week after, we are going to meet and do this. And finally, we are going to have a meeting on the, let's say, December, no? On the 30th of November and finish this off. If we can't meet on the 30th, backup date 1 is 1st of December, backup date 2 is 3rd of December. You have the backups and finish it off. Most importantly, advance notice. Don't call the members and say, hey, there is a meeting happening now, can you join? That won't work. There is a meeting in the evening today, can you join? That also won't work. If you have the timeline in place, advance notices can be given to these people. I see someone raise their hand. I can take a question. Did anyone raise your hand? Okay. Okay, no problem. Right, let me move forward. So if you have any questions, just let me know, or at the end of the session, we can take. Now, next, once you plan, the next task is meet. When you meet, you have a couple of things which I will quickly go through. First and foremost, start the meeting on time. If it's 6 o'clock, it's not 5:59, it's not 6:01. There is a reason to start on time. Now, I want your answers for this. We, mostly because we as Sri Lankans, I would say, has a tendency, 5 minutes, no. I was late only for 5 minutes, no. What is the big deal? Just 5 minutes, no. Is it really 5 minutes that has been wasted, or is it more? I would like to get an answer.
More.
How many minutes more? Let's take today we have 100 participants here.
It's more, not
It's
only
more.
5.
Okay, now let's say I started this session 5 minutes late and we have 100 people here today, except me. We have 100 participants. How many minutes have I wasted
5
actually?
into 100, which is wasted.
500 minutes wasted, almost closer to 8 to 9 hours of people's time I have wasted. So this is a very important point. All must take this into consideration. Always start the meeting on time. I always say time is life. Life is time. Any idea why? We are all born, we are all going to die, and in between is the time. If I waste 1 minute of my life, I have wasted 1 minute of my life actually. So 1 minute, can you get that back? Can you rewind? No, that is your life that you have wasted. Exactly. No, that is the life that you have wasted. So ensure you don't waste time so that you don't waste life. That is something beyond meetings into a day-to-day practice. This, I believe you as scouts will practice in your day-to-day life as well. Don't ever waste anyone's time, including yourself, because time is life. Next, stick to the objective purpose. Sometimes you come for one meeting and there are meetings inside the meeting. You come here to plan about the event and one person starts another topic inside the meeting, and that person, another person starts another topic. Finally, 2 hours, at the end of 2 hours, you have not even started to speak about planning. So don't do that. Stick to the objective, stick to the purpose. Here, I would say stick to the agenda as well. Yes, my next point, follow the agenda. Don't skip items. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just follow the agenda. If you get stuck in one point, move forward to the other point. However, ensure that you come back to that point and finish, because do not leave items unattended. Items are there in an agenda for a purpose, because it is important. Don't skip them just because you don't have time. Attend every single items. Next, follow the ground rules. Do not distract. Especially we go with mobile phones today. The technology is good. People take iPads to take notes. I don't say it's bad. It's very good. We need to move with technology. But don't let that distract you. Don't let your phones ring while there is a meeting going on. Because the thought process, the flow of content will be disrupted, and it is very hard to go back and gather that content once someone disturbs you. When someone is speaking, don't leave the room. Don't leave the meeting area. Wait until that person speak and then leave the room if it's necessary. Because otherwise it is a disrespect for the person as well as you are disturbing him. Like that, have your own ground rules. This is what we are going to follow when we have a meeting. We are not going to answer calls. We are not going to leave the meeting premises. We will raise our hands to ask questions. We will not ask cross questions. Like that. Have your ground rules and don't distract the meeting. Purpose over person. Now today we are very good at discussing about people. Most of the time we discuss, no, this task shouldn't be given to Toastmaster Modita, DTM Modita. No, DTM Modita is a person like this. DTM Modita lives out of Colombo. No? Because of that, we shouldn't give this task to DTM Modita. Now, does that matter? Not at all. You need to discuss about why this task should be given to the person or not based on the task. Now, if it involves like a heavy task, which DTM Modita cannot manage because he's busy, now that is a different story. If you say he can't manage this because of some other qualities which are not relevant to the task, that is discrimination. So don't discriminate anyone. Discuss the purpose over person, not about the quality of the person, but why he or she is suitable or not suitable to handle this task. Keep everyone engaged. Like I said earlier, some meetings, the president talks, the leader talks, he himself gives the solution, we just listen and come back. Some meetings, others talk, the leader is silent. But For an effective meeting, get everyone to speak. If you sit at a meeting, that is because you are required. So your opinion matters. Keep everyone engaged. Here, respect everyone's opinion, but take the right decision. Just because all of you agree to do something wrong, it doesn't mean that is right, even though everyone agreed. Just because all of you agree to do the wrong thing will not make it right just because everyone agreed. Respect everyone's opinion, but take the right decision. Clarify any misunderstanding. There is a famous saying where people use, I am not responsible for what you hear. I am responsible for what I say. Have you heard this? We often use this. But as a leader, you need to take that responsibility, because if your team members don't understand what you said, it is your responsibility to clarify any misunderstanding. Keep it very short. Now, when you start talking about this camporee, I'm taking this as an example to organize this camporee. It is not, I think you're organizing this for the 55th time, right? If I'm not mistaken. So let's say 55th time. Just because it is no need to come and talk about what happened in the first camporee, second camporee, third camporee, fourth camporee, fifth camporee, like that, 51, 52, 53, 54, and then say we must organize another camporee this time. No, keep it short. If it's about this, it's about this. Don't go into history unnecessarily. Summarize the meeting. After 2 to 3 hours, people will not remember what we did. Person who took minutes, ensure that you read the points so that we summarize and refresh our mind about what happened at the meeting. Read out the minutes, and especially 3 Ws. I am sure that most of you would have heard about this. Otherwise, this is a new thing. When you assign a task to someone, follow the 3W method. Assign who is going to do what when he needs to complete. Who is going to do what when he needs to complete, and also have a small column saying status, whether he completed or not, so that the allocation of tasks are very clear. Who needs to do what? Close on time. Very, very important. Like you start the meeting on time, you need to finish the meeting on time as well. So this is how I believe you can plan your meeting effectively after you plan. And once the meeting is done, very important, we forget this. Most of us forget this, to take feedback. The number one, send a very quick feedback form to the members and ask how was the meeting, what we can improve, and what we did good, what we can improve, and how to improve. Ask that. Don't assume because you are a very good speaker, because you are a distinguished Toastmaster, you did a fantastic job. No, people might have had few misunderstandings. They would have had other ways that you can improve this meeting. Let them give their opinion. Now, don't make this feedback form like your A-level paper. 3 hours to fill the form. No, very short. Very, very short, only important questions. One or two questions on MCQs, rate 1 to 5. How effective was the meeting? 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest. Give just 2 points how we can improve it. Like that, take a feedback. Next, continuous follow-up on the tasks. Follow up from the beginning till the end. All those due dates, remind people, your task is due on this date. Have you done this? Have you done this? Have you done this? So that you will have a good track of follow-up and people will finish things on time. In case of a failure, check for the core problem. What went wrong? Rather than criticizing the person, I told you not to give this to DTM Modita. Don't say that. See why he couldn't do it and try to find solution for the problem, and don't criticize the person. He may be the reason, but there is a way of handling. So find reason, fix, and move forward. And the most important thing is, appreciate the effort of offer support. When we get our things done, most of the time, we forget to appreciate that person. We forget to say thank you. But most of the time, if they do it wrong, we are all there to criticize. Come out of that mentality. Even if it's a small thing, as someone brought some refreshments for the meeting, a bottle of water, appreciate that effort. Say thank you very much. Nice food. Thanks for refreshing us today. And if someone gets stuck, offer support so that that task could be done. Going back to summarize, 3 steps. We discussed about planning the meeting. We discussed about meet, what to do at the meeting. We discussed about feedback. And finally, repeat if it is needed. With that, I conclude my session exactly at 40 minutes that was allocated to me. So I have not gone over time. Happy to report that I spent 50% more time in meetings this quarter. And that's not an accomplishment. Meetings are a complete waste of time. How would I learn? How would I have learned that without this meeting? Just a point for you to remember. If you have any questions, you can ask, or else, Harshini, do we have any more time for questions?
We can take about maybe a maximum of 5 questions, not more than that. But of course, if anybody does have any questions, please feel free to drop in the chat box, and Distinguished Toastmaster Zaidh can respond to the same, or you can unmute and speak. But we'll limit the questions to a maximum of 5 this time because of time constraints. Any questions?
Someone has said data wastage. I don't know for what. Navaneet?
I think it's in response to a previously asked question.
Okay.
Of the time waste.
Okay, yes, the time waste, yeah, data waste, very good point. Okay, if you have any questions, good. Normally, after a presentation, there are only 2 things that happens when you don't have questions. Either you understood everything what I said, or understood nothing. And I hope it's the first one. Over to you, DTM, Toastmaster Harshini. And thank you very much, all the scouts, for being here.
First one. Thank you,
Yeah.
sir. Thank you, sir.
Thanks to you two for being a lovely audience and giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Harshini, over to you.
Thank you, sir. It was good.
Coming together is the beginning. Keeping together is progress, and working together is success. Thank you very much, Distinguished Toastmaster Zaidh, for facilitating this valuable session on meeting management. All our speakers today mentioned, and Toastmaster Zaidh strongly re-established that Toastmasters provide its members with a safe and supportive environment to become better communicators, leaders, and public speakers. But of course, the success of a club meeting would of course depend on the participants, because every participant, as you very correctly mentioned, plays an important part in making the club experience enjoyable. And I think even this session was made enjoyable and all interactive because of the participation of all these youngsters. It was amazing to see all these interactions. So thank you very much, Distinguished Toastmaster Zaidh, for making us realize the importance of meeting management. So with that, we come to the conclusion of today's session. We've come to the end of it, end of the session of Lead Through Communication 101. So it's now time for both you and I to ask ourselves, if we had only 60 seconds on stage, what would we absolutely have to say to get our message across? So this is what basically we work towards in Toastmasters. So with that as food for thought, let me now hand over controls back to Nilukshan until I meet you again tomorrow with another 3 informative and interactive sessions. So thanks again for being a great audience, and I'm looking forward to meeting you all again tomorrow. Nilukshan, the screen is yours.
Thank you, Toastmaster Hasani, and all the Toastmasters for conducting such an insightful and fun set of sessions. I strongly believe that the content covered throughout this session would benefit all the scouts who are in this Zoom meeting and who are watching the session live on Campo Live YouTube channel to meet their requirements for achieving the proficiency badges based on public speaking. Now, before wrapping up, I would like to invite the chairman of Colombo Scout Youth Advisory Group, Senior Scout Chamod Viswajit, to deliver the vote of thanks. Chamod, over to you.
Good afternoon, all. I deem it a great honor and privilege to propose the vote of thanks on this occasion. First and foremost, I thank our lecturers, listening this Toastmaster, Mudita Chandanayaka, Introduction to Toastmasters, Toastmaster Sandun Fernando, prepared speech, Victory Shade, Naushard, meeting management, and also express my heartfelt thanks to distinguished Toastmaster, Nishar Virakon, Club Growth Director, District 82 Toastmasters. Today meeting moderator, Toastmaster Hasini Silva and Mr. Siddharth Gajanayaka. I thank all the scouts present in here. Last but not the least, I thank organizing committee for your cooperation in making this function a resounding success. Once again, I thank you all for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chamod, and everyone for attending this session. Before wrapping up the session, I would like to request all participants to join tomorrow's session on impromptu speaking and leadership skills using the same Zoom link by 9:50 a.m. sharp. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful campaign.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Session.
රටක වැඩ ඉදිරියට යන්නේ ඔබ නොසිතූ මේ ලොතරැයි විරුවාගේ දායකත්වයෙන් නොවේද. රටක් වැඩහල්ලන දවසේ මුල්ම ගනුදෙනුව NLB ජීවිතයේ සිහිනයට වාසනාවේ ආශිර්වාදය.
මේ දෑතින් රැකබලා ගත්ත අපේ අස්වන්න කෙලින්ම CBL සමපෝෂ කොම්පැනිය මිලදී ගන්න නිසා අපේ ජීවිත රැකෙනව මහත්තයෝ.
දශක ගානක් අපේ රටේ කෘෂිකර්මාන්තයට වගේම රැකියා දහස් ගානක් බිහි කරලා රටේ ආර්ථිකයටත් සමපෝෂ ආයතනය ලොකු මෙහෙවරක් කරලා තියෙනවා.
එහෙනම් අපේ දරුවත් කන අපේම දෙයක්නේ.
CBL සමපෝෂ දයක් නංවන පෝෂණය.